Growing up, Kelvin never believed in love. He didn't just avoid relationships, he despised them. To him, love was a trap, a beautiful lie people told themselves to escape the loneliness that came with life. His belief wasn't born out of experience with women, but from the cold, painful memory of his childhood. His mother, the woman who was supposed to teach him love, had destroyed his father and his faith in affection. When Kelvin was only 9 years old, he watched his mother, Clara, humiliate his father again and again. His father, Daniel, was a simple, kind man, the kind that would kneel down to fix the shoes of his wife just to see her smile. But Clara was never satisfied. She mocked him for being poor, for coming home tired, for dreaming too small. And when Daniel finally got a small promotion at work, hoping to make her proud, she betrayed him. She started seeing another man, a richer man in town. Kelvin remembered the night everything fell apart. His father came home earlier than usual and caught her in the act. The shouting that followed could be heard across the compound. Kelvin hid behind the curtain, trembling, watching the only two people he loved tear each other apart with words and tears. His mother called his father a failure, and his father, in pain, shouted that he wished he had never married her. The next morning, Kelvin's father packed his things and left the house. He never came back. A week later, news came that he had been found dead in his car, engine still running, poisoned by fumes, an apparent suicide. That broke something inside Kelvin. He blamed his mother for it. He blamed her laughter, her greed, her coldness. From that day, he swore that no woman would ever make him weak. He would never love. He would never give anyone the power to hurt him the way his mother hurt his father. Years passed. Kelvin grew into a fine young man, handsome, educated, and successful. By 30, he owned a big house in the city, had multiple businesses running, and lived alone. He had women around him, of course, beautiful women who threw themselves at him for his money or his looks, but to him they were just distractions. He would smile, take them out, sometimes even spend the night with them, but his heart was never involved. To him, love was for fools. Then came Anita. She was a quiet girl, about 22, from a small village. He met her through his cousin, who recommended her when he complained about his last house help stealing from him. At first, Kelvin didn't even want another house help. He didn't like the idea of anyone living with him, but his schedule was too tight, so he agreed. When Anita arrived, she came with a small bag, nervous but polite. Her dark skin glowed, even in simplicity. She spoke softly, always kept her eyes low, and worked with a quiet dedication that surprised Kelvin. She cleaned every corner of the house, cooked his meals with care, and never complained. At first, Kelvin didn't notice much about her. He just saw her as another worker, someone who did what she was paid for. But over time, something about her spirit caught his attention. She was always smiling, even when she was tired. She hummed songs while working, she treated him with respect, not fear, and never pried into his life the way others did. One night, Calvin came home late from a business trip. It was raining heavily. As he entered, he found Anita still awake, sitting in the living room, waiting. She had left food on the table, still warm. "You should be asleep," he said, surprised. "I couldn't sleep knowing you haven't eaten," she replied softly. Something in that simple statement hit him deeply. It reminded him of something his father used to say, how love isn't about grand gestures, but the little things people do without expecting anything back. For the first time in years, Kelvin felt something stir inside him, a warmth he didn't recognize. Weeks passed and he found himself watching her more, how she tied her hair in the morning, how she spoke to the gardener with kindness, and how she laughed when talking to the neighbors' kids. It annoyed him at first. He hated feeling anything, so he started avoiding her, coming home later, locking himself in his study. But the more he ran, the stronger the pull became. One evening, he came down to the kitchen and found her crying quietly. He froze. She quickly wiped her tears and forced a smile, pretending nothing was wrong. But Kelvin couldn't walk away. Something in her pain mirrored his own. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice gentler than he intended. She hesitated, then whispered, "My mother is sick. The hospital said she needs surgery. I don't have the money." Her voice cracked as she spoke, and Kelvin felt something break in him too. Without thinking, he pulled out his wallet and handed her a wad of cash. "Take this," he said. "Take care of her." She stared at the money, shaking her head. "Sir, it's too much. I can't just take it," he interrupted, trying to hide his emotion. She took it with trembling hands, tears rolling down her cheeks. "God bless you, sir. I don't know how to thank you." He turned away quickly before she saw his own eyes glisten. That night, Kelvin couldn't sleep. He lay awake thinking about her mother, her tears, her gratitude. And for the first time in years, he prayed, not for himself, but for someone else. When Anita returned from her village weeks later, she ran into the compound the moment she saw him and knelt down crying, "Sir, my mother is alive because of you. Thank you. Thank you so much." Kelvin felt his throat tighten. He told her to stand, but she held his hand and kissed it, sobbing. At that moment, something happened. Something he couldn't stop. He lifted her chin gently and looked into her eyes. That was when it hit him. He was falling for her. He tried to fight it. He told himself it was pity, not love. But the more he saw her, the more he realized it wasn't. It was real. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. He began to talk to her more, asking about her dreams, her past. She told him how she had lost her father young, how her mother struggled to raise her and her siblings. Despite her pain, she never spoke bitterly. She forgave easily, laughed often, and believed in love deeply. That was what broke Kelvin the most. She believed in what he had spent his whole life running from. One evening, while they were sitting in the garden, Kelvin finally confessed. "Anita," he said quietly, "I've lived my whole life thinking love was a lie. But you make me doubt that. You make me want to believe again." Anita looked at him surprised. "Sir, what are you saying?" He smiled faintly. "I'm saying I think I'm falling in love with you." She froze, tears filling her eyes. "But I'm just your house help," she whispered. "Not to me, not anymore." He reached for her hand. It wasn't easy. People talked. His friends mocked him. Some of his family called it madness that a man of his status would fall for a maid. But Kelvin didn't care. For the first time, he was happy. For the first time, he understood what his father must have felt when he used to say, "Love is the only thing that makes life worth it." One afternoon, Kelvin visited his father's grave. He stood there silently, the wind brushing against his face, and whispered, "Dad, I finally get it. I understand what you meant. I'm sorry it took me this long." He placed flowers on the grave, closed his eyes, and smiled. When he got home, Anita was waiting at the door, smiling that same warm smile that melted his heart. He pulled her close, and for the first time in decades, he said the words he thought he'd never say, "I love you." And this time, he meant it with every piece of his healed heart.